This interview is for information only and should not be considered as investment advice or a recommendation to buy shares in the company featured. Welcome to this Stock Box interview. Joining us today is George Roach, the CEO of Premier African Minerals. Now, of course, the last time that we spoke, George, was in person, wasn't it, in London at that event you were holding for shareholders. I think generally people were very happy, weren't they, with what was going on? Lots of serious progress being made, but I think it was a worthwhile trip. What are your thoughts, first of all, on that trip and obviously meeting some shareholders face to face?
I think it's invaluable. I would much rather get first-hand personal interaction and hear what people's concerns, thoughts, whatever they may be, are, than to have to try and deal with it through an RNS or informally or whatever. Look, we deal with a huge amount of email correspondence and so on, and my phone, I'll always answer my phone if I can to phone calls, but the personal contact was great. And thanks very much to you guys as well. It was great seeing you and your team there as well.
No, I very much enjoyed it. I enjoyed covering that event. So I look forward to doing more things like that in the future now that we can hopefully travel a bit easier. Although it's still pretty tricky to travel now. It's gone a bit mad. It's gone the opposite way. But anyway. So the RNS, of course, released by Premier this week on Tuesday. Assay results update and an update on the pilot plant. So let's take a look at these results to begin with then. The market, I know, has been hungry for more assays for quite a long time. And I know there's been some delays. But you say there's another 2,000 still to come, so there's a lot more still to come.
Yeah, in fact, it's a lot more than 2,000 actually. That 2,000 relates to the samples in respect of which we've already done sample preparation. So the core's been split, it's been milled, it's been reduced to a point where it's in a pulp form that can go direct to a lab. Since then, there have been some encouraging signs from some of the labs who are working very closely with us. And we've got various undertakings in terms of expediting getting our results through. So I'm quite pleased with that. And I think that that's going to continue. Okay. But on the other side of it, let me make two comments. First of all, in terms of what we report. And we don't attempt to report every single result we get. If we did, we'd have reams and reams and reams of paper. What we try to do is we try to take continuous sections where there is significant mineralization well above the cutoffs and to look at those in a composite. Now, they could be fairly long, they could be fairly short. They could be sections from within a pegmatite. And in fact, in many instances, they are. They are sections within a pegmatite. And so I think the most significant point being that when we actually mine this ore body, the presence of upfront ore sorters immediately after our crushers is going to take away any significance or anything that one can attach to gang material that is going to come out in a normal processing anyway, because the sorters are there to take the gang material and throw it out. And they're going to throw it out into what will eventually become an aggregate almost. Same kind of thing. There's a tungsten operation somewhere in the west of England that was talking about selling aggregate from TOMRA sorters. Well, it's exactly the same thing. So the gang material, that's what happens to it. And it's only where there's mineralization that will pass into the rest of the plant. So that's the one point I wanted to make. The other point I wanted to make is that the intersections are not necessarily reported as true widths because we're drilling at an angle through a series of pegmatites. But every now and again, we have the kind of thing that I was faced with yesterday, for example, when I was at the project. And one will see inordinate widths of sections. I mean, absolutely stunning stuff that you can look at 50 plus meters of continuous mineralization. And it's not assayed. You can only look at these things and log it by sight at this stage and using UV light and so on. But it's not one in isolation. There are many, many, many of these. And that kind of situation when it comes to mining is going to lead to even better efficiencies. So overall, in summary, a lot more results expected fairly quickly. A lot more results to go. And some fantastic intersections as well.
Okay.
But as soon as we get some assays and so on, we'll be able to report on. So generally very encouraging from a resource perspective.
Okay, well, I wonder if I can just get your comments then, perhaps on the results. Should people be getting hung up on the assay number? I mean, you said in the RNS that this is the precisely the type of ore body best suited to the sensor-based sorting technology that's being applied. And of course, Annalise from Stark Resources was at the event in London, who are actually going to be installing these systems. So, I mean, should people be worried about or thinking too much about the assay results? Can you perhaps explain how you put them together and in your words, what it means really, or how you're feeling about them? Was it what you were looking for?
Well, let me step back then into the original resource model that we published. In the original resource model, we calculated the resource, as do all people, with a particular cutoff. So as I recall, in the original resource model, we used a cutoff of 0.5. I think that was what the actual grade was. So what we're saying is wherever there's mineralization higher than 0.5 Li2O equivalent, that goes into the resource. Now, our systems, our plant design accommodates to much lower than that. So what we have been doing is, for purposes of compiling the resource, everything above the cutoff will be part of the resource. So there'll be some mineralization left out. You can't always leave it all out. You're going to mine some of it anyway. Doesn't matter. It's going to be processed and we'll recover from it. And then what we've been doing is we've been saying within a pegmatite, if we have a section that's more than, and I can't remember the meterage my geos are using, that's more than X length and is on or about or above the 1% that we consider significant, that's what we're reporting. So that's the extent of the reporting. We're not, for example, reporting in many instances tantalum. Now the whole tantalum situation, the tantalite contained within it, is almost certainly going to be a significant contributor in the future. Some of the pegmatites that we see are very high in tantalum, a little lower in spodumene, maybe higher in petalite, and so on. These things are variable ore bodies in a series of steeply dipping, clearly defined sections. So because of the nature of our plant, we're in a position to take all of this out in a lump, as it were, throw it at the plant, let it get to the sorters, and from there on only deal with and process the mineralized components of it. So I hope that adds a little bit more color and clarity to that.
Yes, I think that makes it clear how you're going to report these assay results going forward. But from a general point of view, it's as you expected. Is that fair to say? And things are, there's nothing surprising you or coming up negative? No,
nothing at all. Absolutely nothing at all. As long as we continue to drill and see some of the intersections we're seeing and seeing these results coming back as well, I'm very, very happy with it.
Okay,
no problem.
Good. Well, you mentioned earlier on you've just come back from Zimbabwe. This is, of course, why we're doing the interview today and not earlier in the week. So give us an update then. What's going on site? People are going to be keen to see things and hear about things progressing. You've said that progress continues with the early mine builds, site earthworks and camp construction is progressing well. So just give us an update, George, what you saw firsthand.
On the ground, it is progress with those aspects. Camp construction, and camp construction in some of it is now up to roof height. It's early establishment of the contractors' camps, and this will include the mining contractor and his workshop and camp areas. It's earthworks and early stages on earthworks for what we can do at this point, which is largely roads and road design and so on. So haul roads are largely in. The ability to communicate and move around the whole property is there. And we will be starting on Monday with the actual earthworks onto which the plinth will go and where the plant will be located, where the generators will go and so on. So all of those earthworks, that major earth moving, starts on Monday. And then from the middle of August, we anticipate that the earthworks associated with the tailings facility will start. Work associated with the water storage and the water dam is also advancing, but very early stages. We've had to cut a new road up a 4-kilometer non-existent track. I was going to say track. It was non-existent with an excavator to get to where we're actually going to build that dam. That's completely opened. Final survey is being done on that. We've identified exactly where the foundation will be, and that will start very soon. So a lot of these on-site longer items are now starting. In the case of the plant itself, there are elements of the plant that are already completed. The two primary sorters, the two initial sorters that will go in, are already, they're sitting maybe 20 kilometers away from where I'm sitting at the moment. They're in the containers, they're ready to go. The conveyors and so on that will support those are under construction. The crushers, I believe that the principal components of the crushers are complete and ready. I've obviously paid an initial holding deposit on those. So I think that we will probably be able to start moving capital plant to site sometime around about the latter part of September, maybe October, I think will be a better indication. The anticipated project deadline date for commencement of full production is now looking like the middle of February. And that's well within the timelines that we have in terms of our agreements and so on that we are working with our off-taker. And at this stage, there isn't anything of any significance that we're identifying to stop it. We have appointed project management. We've appointed construction management to supervise what's going on at site, and it's professional engineering people who've been put into those positions. And their principal role is to make sure that we stay on time and on budget.
Good.
So,
good.
And I don't know what else to say. I think we're doing everything that we can reasonably do to get this done correctly.
It sounds like it, and on time and on budget, and not seeing any foreseeable problems. So that's good. Thank you for giving us that snapshot update. I'm sure we'll be getting plenty more of them as there'll be progress throughout the rest of this year. Just a final word just on the agreement, then, George, with the offtake in the coming days. You said in the RNS, so pretty much there as well.
Yes, absolutely. I mean, as I got on this call with you, I was looking at one or two really final little bits and pieces that are in the document, and there's a call from both sides for this thing to be executed to be executed like right away. Let's put it that way.
Right away.
Okay, so hopefully next time we talk, we'll be talking about an RNS that relates to the signing of the final prepayment agreement.
Perfect. Well, thank you very much, George Roach, CEO of Premier Africa Minerals, for your time today.
Thank you very much indeed, Mark. Thank you.
If you enjoyed this interview, then give us a thumbs up, a like, or a retweet. Subscribe to us on YouTube or follow us on Twitter, and hit that notification bell to be the first to know when we release new content. There's loads of great content on our website too, across all our programmes at stockboxmedia.com. Thank you for watching.